If you've been scrolling through endless pages, comparing laptops that promise desktop-level power and still feel unsure which one actually makes sense for the work you do, stick around. I've spent the last few days swapping this machine into a CADV workflow, a couple of video editing sessions, and even a nighttime gaming test just to see where the line is drawn. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the HP ZBook Fury G1i isn't trying to be a budget laptop. It's positioned squarely as a mobile workstation that can handle the most demanding professional apps and still give you a smooth 165Hz refresh on an 18-inch screen. That sounds impressive, but the real question is whether the price you pay translates into tangible benefits for your day-to-day tasks, or if you'd be better off with a more specialized device. Let's talk about the core of the machine, the Intel Core Ultra 9285HX. This is a high-core, high-clock CPU that HP markets as AI-powered, which basically means it can offload certain machine learning tasks to built-in accelerators. In my workflow, that mattered most when I opened a 3D model in Fusion 360 and ran a quick topology optimization. The render finished a few seconds faster than on my older workstation, which used a mainstream i7. The difference isn't going to be noticeable on simple spreadsheets, but if you're constantly running simulations, those seconds add up. The RTX Pro 20 GPU is another piece of the puzzle. It's a professional-grade graphics card that's tuned for CAD, DCC, and similar workloads rather than raw gaming frames. When I launched Adobe Premiere Pro and tossed a 4K timeline with multiple effects, playback stayed buttery smooth, and the GPU accelerated export was roughly 20% quicker than on a consumer-grade RTX 3060 I tested side by side. For a gamer who also does occasional video work, you'll get decent frame rates in modern titles, but you won't be hitting the ultra-high settings that a pure gaming rig would push. So the gaming label is a bit of a stretch. It's more of a hybrid that leans toward professional use. Now, the display. An 18-inch WQXGA panel at 25601600 with a 165Hz refresh rate is something you rarely see outside high-end gaming laptops. The extra vertical real estate is a blessing when you have multiple toolbars open in Photoshop or a sprawling timeline in DaVinci Resolve. The high refresh rate also helps when you're scrolling through massive CAD assemblies. There's no stutter, and the motion feels natural. The only downside is that the panel is a bit reflective, so working near a bright window can be distracting. A matte coating would have been nice, but the color accuracy is solid out of the box, which saves you a calibration step. Storage and memory are where the ZBook really starts to justify its price tag. A 1TB NVMe SSD paired with 32GB of DDR5 RAM means you can keep large project files on the internal drive without constantly swapping to external media. In practice, I was able to open a 5GB 3D scene and start working within seconds. The OS didn't hiccup, and background services stayed responsive. If your typical workload involves a few gigabytes of data at most, you might be overpaying for that capacity, but for architects, engineers, or VFX artists who juggle massive assets, the extra space and speed are a real productivity boost. One feature that often slips under the radar is the Intel WM880 chip. It's a Wi-Fi 6E module that supports the newest 6 GHz band, delivering lower latency and higher throughput when you have a compatible router. In my office, I ran a 10 gigabits per second local network test and saw transfer speeds that rivaled a wired Ethernet connection. If your work depends on fast cloud uploads, think large simulation results or raw footage, this chip can shave minutes off your day. So, who should actually buy this machine? If you're a professional who needs a portable powerhouse for CAD, BIM, 3D rendering, or high-resolution video editing, the ZBook Fury G1i checks the boxes. Its combination of a top-tier CPU, professional GPU, ample RAM, and a big, high-refresh display means you can replace a desktop workstation for many tasks while still being able to carry it to a client site or a conference room. The vPro technology adds remote manageability, which is a plus for IT departments that need to push updates or troubleshoot without physically handling the laptop. On the flip side, if your primary use case is casual gaming, web browsing, or office productivity, you'll probably be better off with a lighter, cheaper laptop that still offers good performance. The machine weighs close to 5 kilograms, and its battery life hovers around 5 to 6 hours under mixed load, nothing you'd call all day for a typical office user. Also, the premium price means you're paying for a level of durability and service that most freelancers won't fully utilize. There are a couple of practical trade-offs worth noting. The keyboard, while full-size and backlit, has a slightly deeper travel that can feel a bit mushy after a few hours of typing. It's not a deal-breaker, but if you type a lot, you might want an external mechanical keyboard. The thermal design.